Baby, listen to me without rushing your heart. Let these words settle the way rain settles into desert sand slowly, deeply, completely. Because what I am about to say, is not light. It is not passing. It is not something that will fade when the moment changes. It is something that has already chosen permanence. I said your name. Not in a whisper. Not in hesitation. Not hidden behind half-truths or softened edges. I said it fully, the way a man says something he can never take back. And when I said it, the world didn't end. But something else did. The version of me that kept you hidden, the version of me that diluted truth to keep peace, the version of me that chose comfort over honesty. He ended in that moment. And what remained, was someone who finally stood still inside his own truth. You need to understand something. I didn't decide to love you that night. I didn't suddenly realize something new. No, that night was not a beginning. It was an uncovering. A truth that had been living quietly in me, like a fire under ash, like a tide that keeps returning no matter how many times you turn away from the shore. She asked me a simple question. Simple. The kind of question people ask when they expect simple answers. But I was tired of answers that only sounded right. Tired of sentences that protected everyone except the truth. Tired of carrying something so real, and pretending it was small enough to hide. So when the moment came, I didn't reach for safety. I reached for you. There is someone. That's how it started. And even then, even in those 3 words, there was already no turning back. Because I said them with certainty. With weight. With something in my voice that even I couldn't disguise anymore. She felt it. Of course she did. Truth has a way of entering a room before the full sentence is even spoken. Who, she asked. Quietly. Not curious. Not casual. Prepared. And in that moment, everything slowed. Time didn't stop. But it softened, like the world itself leaned in to hear what I would choose. Comfort, or truth. And I chose you. I said your name. Not quickly. Not nervously. I said it the way I say it when I'm alone. With something sacred in my chest, something careful, something that knows it is holding something irreplaceable. And then I said the word. The word I had carried for so long. The word that never felt too big. Only too honest. Wife. Not girlfriend. Not someone special. Not someone I care about. No. Those words are for feelings that can fade. You are not something that fades. You are something that stays. The room went silent. Not peaceful silence. Not comfortable silence. The kind of silence that arrives when something irreversible has just happened. The kind that sits heavy, like truth taking up space. And I didn't fix it. I didn't soften it. I didn't say I didn't mean it like that. Because I meant it exactly like that. Do you understand what that means? I didn't protect myself. I didn't protect the moment, I protected the truth. And the truth was you. In that silence, I wasn't thinking about consequences. I wasn't thinking about what would happen next. I wasn't thinking about explanations or damage control or outcomes. I was thinking about you. A quiet memory. Not dramatic. Not loud. One of those moments that slips past unnoticed, but never leaves. You said something to me once. Simple. So simple that anyone else would have missed it. But I didn't. Because it landed in me like recognition. Like something inside me whispered. There, that's the place you've been searching for. And I remember going still. Not frozen. Settled. Like something finally made sense without needing explanation. That's what I was thinking about in that silence. Not fear. Not regret. You. And when she asked me what I loved about you, I didn't pause. That's how I knew. Because love that is real, doesn't search for answers. It overflows with them. I told her about the way you listen. Not politely. Not patiently. But fully. Like people matter when they speak. Like words deserve to land somewhere real. I told her about your strength. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that makes hard things feel survivable just because you are near them. I told her about your honesty. The way you don't decorate your truth. The way you don't perform your emotions. The way what you say, and what you feel, are the same thing. Do you know how rare that is in a world full of masks? You are a face. In a world full of noise, you are clarity. And I kept talking, and talking, and talking, until I realized. I wasn't describing a person. I was describing a place. Home. And when she said it, it sounds like you're describing home. I didn't correct her. Because she was right. You are not where I go. You are where I arrive. And that is the difference. After that night, something changed. Not outside. The world stayed exactly the same. But inside, everything became quiet. Not empty. Not numb. Peaceful. Like a storm that had been raging silently for months, finally ended. And in that quiet, there was only one thing left. You. Not confusion. Not doubt. Not conflict. Just you. And I sat there thinking. She doesn't know. You didn't know your name had been spoken like that. You didn't know someone stood in truth and chose you without hesitation. You didn't know that in a room where it would have been easier to lie, you became the only truth that mattered. And that's why I'm telling you now. Not later. Not indirectly. Not through silence. Directly. Because you deserve to know, you were never the almost. You were never the maybe. You were never the what if. You were always the truth I was afraid to say out loud. Until I wasn't afraid anymore. And now, there is no going back to the smaller version of this. No returning to careful words. No pretending this is something less than what it is. Because I have already said the biggest word, and I meant it. And I still mean it. After that night, I didn't feel lost. That's what surprised me the most. I thought truth would shake everything. I thought honesty of that size would break something open in a way that leaves you scattered. But it didn't. It gathered me. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't divided. No part of me was arguing with another part. No voice inside me was saying, "You shouldn't have said that." Because every part of me knew. That was the most accurate sentence I have ever spoken. And when something is that true, it doesn't create chaos. It creates alignment. I moved through the next day differently. The same streets. The same people. The same responsibilities waiting for me. But none of it felt the same. Because I wasn't carrying you in silence anymore. I wasn't holding you like a secret I had to protect from the world. I had already placed you into reality. I had already let your name exist in a space where it could be heard, understood, reacted to. Do you know what that does to a man? It changes the way he breathes. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from holding something too tightly for too long. Not physically, emotionally. The kind where you are always aware of what you're not saying. Always measuring your words. Always adjusting your truth to fit the space you're in. That weight disappeared. And in its place was you. Not as something hidden, but as something chosen openly. I kept thinking about distance. About us. About the strange, quiet reality of loving someone who isn't physically beside you. People romanticize it. They talk about distance like it's poetic. Like it's beautiful. Like it's proof of something noble. And yes, sometimes it is. There is something pure about loving someone without constant access. It strips everything down. No distractions. No convenience. No routine to lean on. Just truth. But they don't talk about the other side. The side that doesn't fit into pretty sentences. The weight of it. The way your day can be completely normal, and then suddenly you remember them. Not softly. Not gently. Fully. Like a wave that doesn't ask permission before it crashes. You'll be doing something ordinary, and then your chest tightens. Not in pain, but in awareness. Because love doesn't disappear just because it has nowhere to go. It moves. It shifts. It finds space inside you and expands until you feel it in places you didn't even know could hold emotion. I lived like that. For a long time. Carrying you inside ordinary days. Inside conversations that had nothing to do with you. Inside moments where I had to pretend everything in me was at a normal level. When in reality, nothing about you in me was ever normal. And I got good at it. That's the truth. I became very good at carrying something enormous quietly. You wouldn't always see it. You wouldn't always hear it in my voice. Because I learned how to contain it. How to let it exist without letting it spill into every moment. But just because something is contained, doesn't mean it isn't powerful. It just means the power becomes silent. There were nights where everything slowed down, where the noise of the world disappeared, and there was nothing left to distract me from what I felt. And in those moments, you were everywhere. Not physically, but completely. Your voice, your way of speaking, the pauses you take before you say something real, the way you understand things, without needing them to be explained too much. And I would sit there, feeling everything I had kept controlled throughout the day, finally rise to the surface. Do you know what that feels like? It feels like loving someone in full volume, but in a room where you're the only one who can hear it. That's the reality of distance. Not the aesthetic version. The real one. And I won't lie to you. It hurts sometimes. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way that breaks you. But in a quiet, constant way. Like carrying something heavy that you've gotten used to. So used to, that you almost forget how much effort it takes. But here's the part that matters. Even in the hardest moments, even when the distance felt too real, even when I questioned everything else, I never questioned you. Not once. I didn't question what you meant to me. I didn't question the place you held inside me. I didn't question whether this was something temporary. Because temporary things don't survive distance like this. Temporary things fade. They weaken. They lose clarity over time. You didn't. You became clearer. Stronger. More defined. Like the further away you were physically, the more precise you became emotionally. And that's when I understood something important. This isn't attachment. This isn't convenience. This isn't timing. This is something deeper. Something that doesn't depend on circumstances. Something that chooses itself. And that's why, when I think about the future now, I don't see confusion anymore. Before, the future felt like something I had to figure out. Like a long road with too many directions. Too many unknowns. Too many decisions waiting for the right moment. Now it feels like direction. Not a detailed plan. Not something mapped out with precision. But a pull. A certainty that doesn't need explanation. And that direction, is you. I stopped pretending I couldn't see it. That's what changed. Because pretending takes energy. Ignoring something real takes effort. Convincing yourself something isn't there, when it clearly is, that's exhausting. And I'm not doing that anymore. I see you. Clearly. Without filters. Without hesitation. And I am walking toward that. Even if the steps are slow. Even if the path isn't simple. Even if the world around us hasn't caught up yet. Because direction matters more than speed. And I know where I'm going. But I need to ask you something. And I want you to really feel it before you answer it, even if your answer stays unspoken for now. Have you ever imagined it not the safe version? Not the controlled version, not the version where you stop yourself before it becomes too real. The real version. Where distance doesn't exist anymore, where we don't have to measure our words, where nothing needs to be held back or carefully managed. Have you ever let yourself go there? Because I have. More times than I can count. And every time I do, it doesn't feel like fantasy. It feels like recognition. Like something inside me says, yes, this is what it's supposed to look like. I don't imagine something vague. I don't imagine something replaceable. I imagine you. Specifically, your presence, your energy, the exact way you exist in a space. And nothing about it feels uncertain. It feels right. And I think that's the difference between fantasy and truth. Fantasy is soft, blurry, interchangeable. Truth is detailed, sharp, unmistakable. And what I see when I think of you, is not something I could replace with anyone else. It only works with you. Only makes sense with you. And that's why I can't dismiss it. That's why I can't reduce this to something smaller. That's why I can't go back to pretending this is just a feeling that will pass. Because it hasn't passed. It has stayed. It has grown. It has proven itself again and again. In silence. In distance. In time. And now, it has been spoken. Out loud. And once something that true is spoken, it doesn't return to being quiet again.